links are Christy, NF Thinker, and Winverse. Tom, as I said to Richard, is a little bit busy today, so he's not going to be here. I did update these meeting notes, so we'll take a look as we go. But welcome to our All Team Tactical. We're going to use this time to sync up on what's going on around the B Foundation, eliminate blockers, and prioritize our work for the next week. And what we do, we help purpose-driven communities use Web3 tooling to generate revenue and engagement. I think in general, so I added this section, the how to participate. The idea is that we're a duocracy. If you want to see something happen, do it. Post about it on Discord, get some feedback, and then post it in What Did You Ship? And we send out that Black Flag token weekly. So the more you do, the more ownership you gain at B Foundation. And that's the hope, at least, is that working together, we can create something bigger, and then all the work that we put in has kind of been worth it in some way. So yeah, any feedback on this how to participate section? Does that make sense to you?
Yep. Yeah, makes sense to me.
Sweet. All right. On the lag metric side, so Richard and I talked about this a little bit. I think like we're not entirely sure what all the lag metrics exactly should be and the lead metrics. So we're going to be probably iterating on this as we go. But for now, this is kind of what we talked about. So 52,000 and 28 in the vault. That is only including USDC. It actually does not include ETH. So I will add that to our Black Flag website so it's easy for me to get. But for now, we just have, I'm just going to report this number. So we have 52,028 USDC, and we had 3826 in transaction volume. So the idea is that each of these lag metrics is tracking one of our active products, BCard and Black Flag Collective, with the intent that we kind of always have like one metric on each of these products that we're trying to optimize. I do think as well that there's one product that's kind of missing, which is B Pages. I mean, that's kind of like Black Flag Collective is kind of like a synthesis of that. But in general, we may want to add something as we get a little bit further on this, like, oh, you know, how far we are on the launch plan, or how many groups we have on it, or something like that. But just to keep in mind that that's kind of the intent, and we have something missing here that we need to think about. On the lead metric side, we have 2 weekly contributors. Actually, I guess it's 3 if you include Winverse. Winverse, you didn't put your the fact that Winverse isn't here actually. He just popped out. Okay, well, I hope Winverse returns so that we will have a recording of the All Hands, but we shall see. But for now, we have 3 weekly contributors. We have 51 external engagement, and this is just on Farcaster. Again, I'm not super sure about this metric either, but we'll use it for now. And then we have a 411 and 54 monthly burn rate. And so this we can reduce by decommissioning Taxman and not using CoinGecko anymore. So we'll see as we go. All right, team-wide announcements on the standard bounties. I'm just going to skip over these since I don't think we need them right now. And going into our project perspective on the B Pages side, I didn't make any progress on B Pages this week. The next steps are to clean up the deposit code, the deposit widget code, work on the badges widget, which is something that people actually seem very engaged with, especially in person. Have that contributor widget up to make it easier to have that contributor number. Work on an admin panel, and this is something that's kind of it's a building block for something else as well, which we'll talk about later. But essentially, for every community, you probably need an admin panel so that you can do things like export email addresses, give people access if they need it, and eventually, when we have a storefront, you'll want an admin panel so that you can kind of launch a new item or something like that for sale, and see how much money you have and that kind of thing, and deposit with fiat. So this is kind of like, I would say, like the roadmap of B Pages. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense. And I would add in there mini apps, because I think, that is, forecast integration. I mean, I think there's a few different instances of mini apps out there on the market. Didn't Solana come up with one after Farcaster launched their frames? which I thought was kind of interesting. Um, but is Farcaster going to control the mini app narrative moving forward? Do we think?
So yesterday they actually released a statement which said that they're going to stop giving rewards for mini app developers. So earlier
Mhm.
this or like late last year, or I guess like mid last year, they stopped giving out rewards for users,
Mhm.
and then now they're stopping giving out rewards for mini app developers. I do see, like, I kind of understand the idea, is that it was being gamed. Of course,
Mhm.
any kind of reward system you create will be gamed, and it also brings up questions: are they going to continue to support mini apps and that kind of stuff? So we'll see.
So on the surface, aren't mini apps just dApps
Yes, and
or app root, I should
they
say?
have certain hooks that make it very easy to they have certain hooks which make it very easy to use the user's integrated wallet.
Yeah.
And so if we were to integrate Farcaster, what we would need to do is support those hooks. So in this case, like, I think like there's like imagine a function that's just like send transaction. So right now it's like honestly really hard to send a transaction from a website. You have
Uh-huh.
to like have like some sort of wallet stack. You have to have all these other kinds of things. A mini app is kind of like you don't need a wallet stack. You just call send transaction, and then we handle that, right? And so it is
Mhm.
making it easier for developers to do that kind of thing. We could support that, and there are other clients supporting it, like Uno and Base and Quorum, right? But um, yeah, um, yeah. So it makes it easier for people to create potential widgets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to kind of ask, like, what's going on the other clients? Because and doesn't Zapper also use the Forecaster backend? And they're
Yeah,
trying
so
to
Zapper,
and they're trying to go, but I like Zapper. I don't think there's any like mini app kind of focus there. It's just people talking about their act, activities or
yeah,
trading
so
activities.
there's a couple of apps there, but I think like it's a very small set of apps. Like it's literally
Mm-hmm.
like their focus isn't many apps. Actually, their focus is on NFTs and
Uh-huh.
collectibles, right? And so it's like really like I would say like Zapper's kind of like the NFT client, but yes, it is using the back end. It is using the it is using the data, and it has its own integrated wallet. But the idea is that people are really like you kind of see it for bought and sold NFTs, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of cool, right? Like it's really unique for that. That is, I would say, the let's say the value of Zapper, or like that's the potential value of Zapper is really around that NFT space. But each client is different. So yeah, I do think that people will continue to support mini apps because I think that they're a really necessary primitive if you want a lot of people to use on-chain transactions. Like it's a pain in the butt to actually use a wallet right now, and so it really like eases that flow for any random user using a wallet. Like with Zapper, you sign up with an email. With Base, you like sign up with like your passkey. With Farcaster, you sign up with an email, right? And so it is really it's similar to what we're doing, right? And so I do think many apps will continue to be will continue to be supported. I don't know if they'll continue to be developed in that way that they're being developed, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think that there could be another iteration of them that could be very interesting. And I actually think that we potentially could create an interesting iteration of them. Anyways, I added it to this kind of next steps here. All right.
Very,
On the sorry, go ahead.
very good.
Cool. Yeah, and I think like some of these, I just really need to like I probably need to come up with the spec before anything, right? And so I'll spend a little bit more time, especially for the badges and contributor widget, to just like come up with the spec, and then either me or Tom could take it on. I think Tom is really interested in the badges widget. I mean, he's the one who kind of created the badges widget in our. He created the badges widget in our BCard app, right? Like that was just kind of his thing that he wanted to do to show off his NFTs. So yeah. All right. So the automation of monthly inactive emails. I don't think that Tom has worked on this. I'll just leave it here. No progress, but the last time he kind of like set up the framework to actually using it. So we'll go from there. On the B Foundation side, Black Flag Collective, the vote for December is up. We have pretty full group of people. So we have 6 this season, I guess. This month, we have 6 events that are up there from 5 different hosts, and as well, I think one of the things I noticed is that when I signed in with my BCard app to Black Flag Collective, I actually didn't have voting power. And the reason for that, and this was dumb of me, but the reason for that is that I have a different privy thing for Black Flag Collective as I do for BCard. So this is something I can fix. But anyways, it revealed a bug, and it's good that we have that kind of monthly vote so I can find those kinds of bugs. But yeah, that December vote is up. And so yeah, check it out. Please vote if you get a chance. Yearly tax filing. How's this going, Richard?
Yeah, I've got to slide over to the other screen here. Well, I was trying to work on this, but I just had a thought on that. Should we? Because there's actually 2 components of it. There's the Panama component and the Delaware LLC component.
Did we already do the Panama one in?
Well, I haven't done like the updated financials and stuff for the Panama one. I think I think the time that's like kind of after. But I do kind of need to get some of do some of the accounting stuff for the Delaware LLC filing.
Great.
So I think the deadline on the Delaware one is earlier.
Okay, great. Delaware is priority. Okay, great. And then on the reducing burn side, I need to take down Taxman and reduce the emails that we have in Google Apps. Actually, this reminds me. NFThinker, do you think you need your NFThinker at getbcard.io?
Not currently. I think I could do without it.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just like looking at the things I can do to reduce burn. The biggest thing I can do is take down Taxman and remove CoinGecko from the BCard app, and that will reduce our burn by like 25%, if not more. So I'll do that first.
If you could set up those emails to forward to my Gmail, nfthinker@gmail.com, that would be perfect.
Cool. Okay, we'll do. And I'm probably not going to do that for a couple weeks because it's really not I'm not getting the most bang for buck out of that. But
no, of course.
So I was looking into using like Google Gemini a little bit more for marketing and that kind of thing. So we have access to Google AI Studio, and it's kind of like pay per use, which is cool. But if we want to use like Gemini, which kind of like is very like, let's say, Chat GPT like, and we want to use it in a more professional capacity, it's an extra $8 per user. So if I reduce the users down to, like, we have 6 users right now, if I reduce it down to 3, then basically we would end up paying the same, but we would get more access. I don't know if it's worth it, but that's one of the impetuses behind it, is because I was like, oh, is it worth it to go to Gemini Pro? And I'm not sure if it is yet, but I thought I would mention it to everyone.
Yeah, well, I have a Gemini Pro account anyway through other emails, so.
Yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, and I have other, like I'm using Claude Pro right now.
Yeah, I don't think it's worth paying for an AI bot. Like, we can get it anyway.
Cool, sounds good.
Okay.
All right. And then as well, I mean, one thing I should add on here is Playbook. So I have some output, I've been thinking about it and musing on it. Output in discussion, and so we'll talk about it as we go. Looking into the task perspective, actually, probably some of this stuff is not in the task perspectives, but community pages milestone 1, we do have the deposit and withdrawal budget out right now, and we do have the vote on the homepage and mobile. And it's refreshing. So this is kind of done. This community page is milestone 1. And then, I mean, there's some bugs and there's some cleanup, but I think it's like shipped at least. It's like out. So mark that as complete. I think like some of the things we have here is, well, you know what? I'll update this a little bit later, but we have the admin dashboard refactor. Arcus, do you notice a bug on this? I'll add this here. But it would be good if you mentioned it to Tom as well.
I'll follow up with Tom on that stuff.
A couple of bugs related to the monthly statements. He will send a message to Tom on Discord.
Yeah, it was the extracts.
Okay. And in activity, we kind of like the last update we had on this. At Tom is getting this stuff ready. Didn't want to push it before the new year. Okay, so we talked about taxes. And then I will add some more stuff related to B pages and other things here. So we can go like that. And then what did we ship last week? So our Christie entered contributor rewards into splits and rolled over contributor rewards into spreadsheet for the new year with some admin cleanup. That's good for 500 BCard. I held the ops meet, 500 BCard. I started work on the playbook. This is 1K BCard. I put up the vote for December 2025 events. This is 500 BCard. I shared the vote on socials. This is 250 BCard. So here's a question. We kind of said that like if we're doing like and it's been kind of like a and I guess like not a very clear thing. So I think it's worth us having a discussion. In the past, we discussed like coming to a meeting versus like having a working session are two different things. And so should we be giving compensation for people coming to meetings? The on one hand, I think it was Drost who brought up that like we had at Bankless DAO like tons of people who would show up to meetings and get compensated for nothing. On the other hand, you know, I actually find it really useful to talk through things with Tom and Richard when we have these meets. So I don't know. I kind of want to. It's a question I want to ask.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess. Like the all hands, you know, we don't. It's like just the prep work and holding the meeting. So I don't know if there's like if you want to consider a difference between like an all hands meeting or whatever versus like the product meet or whatever where it's sort of a discussion. So there's I guess, but the person like running the meeting, do they get like double the time because they're running the meeting and participating, or just, I mean, and the points are so minimal anyway, it probably doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so like I guess like the all hands is the reason I thought of this, because I do think like I guess like fundamentally I'm against compensating people for coming to a meet unless they're like leading it, because I think that that's the real work. Because I worry that if we compensate people for showing up to a meet, then they will then they'll just show up for that compensation, and it's they're not actually like there have been people in the past, especially at Bankless, who just sat there and never did anything, right? And no matter how many times they were there, they never produced anything. On the other hand, like we often have working sessions in ops meets where we'll be like, oh, okay, like let's open up splits and check out this new feature and see how we can potentially use it, right? And so those for those working sessions, it is actually work that we're doing, right?
Mhm.
It is actually valuable stuff that we're looking at.
Yeah, I think, at this early stage in our growth, compensating people to come to a meeting isn't necessarily a bad thing. It's kind of like Farcaster paying for active users, right? You compensate people for how much they participate in the network. Well, maybe just coming in and being that fifth or sixth or seventh person in the meeting is helpful because you have an idea someday that changes everything. Um, and nothing's really locked in. You don't have to compensate people forever and ever going forward. We could continue trialing it. If your goal is to get more people in from these IRL events and get them to come and participate at the weekly meeting, that could help. They might then decide to volunteer for other roles and start doing things there as well. I don't necessarily see it as a bad thing, especially when we're playing with small units, right? We're not. I think the biggest problem with Bankless DAO, if we're going to use that as a comparison, is that Bank Token when we started was like half a cent or 0.3 cents, or it was low, and it started creeping up and creeping up, and before you knew it, we were getting paid $100 an hour equivalent in bank tokens. And people just it obviously became an extractive community, and something should have been done before that, but everybody was kind of used to it, and the people who were making a huge difference, I mean, we had world-class contributors at Bankless DAO, people of all walks of life, of all capabilities coming in, and it was worth it for them to do it at $100 an hour.
Mm-hmm.
But they probably also wanted to protect the value of the token, so it wasn't necessarily worth it for them paying somebody to come in and sit at a meeting, uh, for a similar quantity of bank if they weren't contributing. We have the foresight to be able to stop that before it becomes a problem currently right now,
Mm-hmm.
for the sake of however many BCard that we're allocating to people for showing up. I think it's perfectly reasonable. And we can even trial it for a quarter or two and see where that leads us.
Okay, so let's say, well, why don't we do this? Why don't we do it for the ops and product meets, and we
Mhm.
won't do it for the all hands? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Okay. Okay, so in that case, I'll add Tom to this too. Okay, so that's 500 B card. I mean, how do you feel about that, Richard? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Well, that's kind of like the sort of the way that we were operating last year, although I guess it wasn't really formalized. It was sort of a informal thing. But yeah, no, it makes sense.
Yeah, last year I wasn't like, I guess like when we were having discussions, I wasn't like, Tom wasn't like putting it down and what did you ship?
Right.
But when we were like, you and I would often have working sessions where we were like working through some issue.
Right.
And so in that case, we would, I guess. Anyways,
Okay.
let's try it out and see how it goes. All right. All right. Yeah. Anything else that we ship that's not here? All right. Okay, so we just talked about this. Okay, I'll just write decision here. Decision, compensate for ops product meet for now, but not for all hands. The compensate ops product meet participation. The lead always gets compensation. Okay, great. Okay, cool. Yeah, I mean, so like in this case, the one thing that's interesting in this is that it does take. Yeah, what you were saying, Richard. Maybe the lead should get a different kind of compensation for this because they actually have to think about it and they come up with an agenda. But anyways, let's not worry about that for now. But it is something I think
Okay.
worth noting because it is more work
Right.
to lead a meet than it is to attend a meet. It's not a big deal now. Well, it's only like a couple of us, but yeah, something to think about in the future. All right. So I wanted to share a little bit of the thoughts on the new playbook. I was going for something a little bit different. The last couple of playbooks have all been like kind of like business plan oriented, and we kind of it was always a little bit difficult for me to update that when we moved to nonprofit because I was just like, oh, okay, like yeah, we have a business, but that's not the reason we're doing it. And so, anyways, I'm trying something a little different right now. It's like less business plan and more art of war. So yeah, let's see how it feels. And so in the Art of War, they talk about kind of like the different, let's say, levels or aspects of when you're trying to accomplish something. And the first thing is the way or Tao or the moral authority, essentially, the like contract between the governed and the governed, the governors and the governed. Like basically, do you have the right to do what you're doing? And the way that I put it is this: given that the world is over-indexed on top-down structures and networks, and that blockchain tools allow us to more easily create bottom-up structures and networks, and that given that real-world connections are the most durable and fulfilling, we wish to create tools to make blockchain tools. We wish to create tools to make blockchain more usable in real life. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that does make sense to me.
Yep.
I guess like, do you feel like this gives us the moral authority to like what we're doing is right and good for the world and the change you want to be in the world?
I mean, yeah, like that's kind of our core ethos, right? Is trying to make positive change in the world and create tools that are both useful and um, regenerative to a degree, not extractive. We don't want to extract value from communities. We want to add value to communities.
Yeah, I was like thinking of this whole like top down, bottom up. I guess like I'm trying to write stuff down in a way that's easy to follow. Write stuff down in a way that someone who hasn't been having these discussions with us might follow our thinking. So one of the questions I wrote here was like, should we talk about the issues that some of these top-down structures cause? That kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because I think like a lot of us got bought in. You know, if you were in Bankless style, we kind of take for granted that you feel this way. But yeah, thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, that's a good way to put it. You know, it's over-indexed and top-down structures. You wrote, should we take about the issues? I think you meant
Should we
talk
talk about
about,
them? Yeah, yeah.
like
Talk.
publicly. Um,
Like in
you know,
here,
should we
like it
should we?
in this thing, in this playbook kind of area. Should we talk about it here?
Yeah, I think we probably should. You know, because again, it's the DAO ethos. It's
Mm-hmm.
the open finance / open participation, permissionlessness. That's all part of it, right? We want to avoid um oh, what's the term I'm looking for? Censorship.
Yeah.
Censored, sorry. Beep. Um Avoid censorship, increase participation, foster bottom up relationships, and create network strength. And the problems that come from these top down structures is control, um, arbitrage. They arbitrage our own money and our own attention for their personal gain. I mean, we can go on and on. Yeah,
Yeah.
I do think we should talk about those.
So I started writing like a manifesto. I started writing it long ago, but I like started to put words to this a little bit more. And so
Mhm.
here's some stuff that I had written down. We are tired of banks standing between us and our money, of politicians standing between us and our neighbors, of tech companies standing between us and our friends, of media standing between us and the truth.
Mm. Yeah, powerful.
Are these the kinds of things that, like, is this what a top? First of all, to be clear, I think these words are terrible. The world is over indexed on top down structures and networks. I feel like someone hears that and they're just like, what the fuck does that mean, right? Like these
Yeah, I
words
don't
are
think we
good,
should
right?
say that specifically, but I
Yeah.
get your point. You're a very technical speaker, Lynx, and you probably
Yeah.
don't even realize it. You remind me of my cousin. He is total tech nerd and also like big into you know, magic and swords and like you, my friend. And he's the captain of his own ship as well. He speaks in very technical terms, and often people are like, "What are you talking about?" But yeah, that's a good premise. And yeah, we can work on the readability of it. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I was kind of thinking if we all agree on kind of like the basics of it, then we can like kind of turn this into a manifesto which has some of the same kinds of things. Like
Hmm.
this is what we understand, but for other people who are trying to potentially recruit or who are just popping in, we might show something a little bit different.
Hmm.
Words
And we
that they
don't
can
need to
actually.
be hostile about these points either. We're not here to cause a riot. We're literally here to help empower communities. Um, and that just so happens to be the opposite of what corporations do.
Yep, exactly. It's not like we have to be mad about it, right? Like you're saying, right? Like it's
We
just
can be
we
passionate,
want to change. Yeah.
but yeah, we don't need to be inflammatory.
Hmm. Did you think why are you saying that? Is it because you thought that the words that I was using were inflammatory or?
No, it is when you look at what Black Flag stands for, the sort of anarchist ethos of anti-government, anti-capitalism starts to come into it. um, they're very very passionate subjects and historically have led to war. So we're not here to fuel that. We're here to we're here to make change by creating tools that can't be denied.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So assuming we buy into this and we think that there may be a different way to say this in other words that are a little bit more palatable or shareable or whatever we want to call it,
Mhm.
um, then I guess like okay, so we wish to make tools to make blockchain more usable in real life, with the I guess the ultimate intent to create these kinds of more bottom up structures and networks, real world connections. I think it's actually worth having a quick discussion on that. I guess like I see these. I guess like in the past, the world was all bottom up, right? Hey, you have your family, you have your tribe, you have your village, you have your city, you have your country, right? It was kind of like all these things kind of came together to make something bigger. And slowly over time, we kind of moved so that things were between us and our neighbors. Like the idea that like kind of Amazon came in and now to buy something you have to go through Amazon, which was kind of like a continuation of Walmart coming in and kind of like upsetting the local retail establishment. So if you want to buy anything, you have to go to Walmart, right? Like there's no local place to get that thing. You can't go over to the next town. It's still Walmart, right? Um, I think that over time, the way that kind of network looks changed, right? And so those kinds of top-down networks are more, let's say, efficient, um, are more optimized for profit, but they're not necessarily more resilient, durable from an individual perspective.
Mhm.
So the real world connections are like anytime you make a real world connection, you're creating a bottom up network right there, like that kind of thing, like that. Like if I met you in real life and I never transacted with you or anything like that, we are essentially invisible to TradFi, but it's still a network, right? Like there still exists a relationship that can't be measured or whatever, right? Um,
Mhm.
and maybe I know you on Facebook, and that's how they measure that connection, right? That network. But the idea that there are these kinds of bottom up, let me put it a different way. Um, I think those bottom up networks are more human, and those top down networks are kind of more machine like. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
All right. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would say that makes sense. Yeah.
yeah.
Um,
Well, yeah. This might be on a tangent or something, but I was kind of thinking of because we've got the black flag emoji, but we also have the cuddly uh, BCard bunny, um, and maybe we're kind of bringing those two things together in some way.
hmm
I don't know. That like I preface this with this is like a tangent or whatever, but I was just kind of thinking of that from a symbol thing, and then like how blockchain and stuff can be thought of as like very technical and interpersonal, but the other side of that is the IRL connections, which are maybe not the complete opposite of that, but so it's kind of like you know how are we merging this stuff
yeah,
to make
um, yeah. It's yeah, like how we merging
like
this. Yeah,
like bringing it together to provide an alternative to like the top down, like how do we describe that, the
yeah.
top down uh, like power structures.
Yeah, so I think it's a good call out. And I mean the way I've been thinking of this, and let me know if you think it's wrong. The way I've been thinking about this is kind of like we are building this parallel system. So we have TradFi, we have like, like the big tech companies, we have like this kind of like we have like big government, whatever you want to call it. We have these like systems that are in place that are top down, right? Like there's lots of top down systems. We are firmly entrenched within these systems. Um, what we are potentially doing with blockchain and in real life is we are creating new bottom up networks. So, like, let's say I have a bottom up network in Toronto, you have one where you live, and a thinker has one where he lives. These are all completely separate bottom up networks in some ways, but we can use blockchain to kind of connect them on the internet, right? So I know 10 people in my community, we have a relationship and we kind of like talk about these things together. And then you have 5 people, and then a thinker has 20 people, right? And so like we are kind of disparately positioned around the world, but using blockchain tools, we can kind of like in some ways connect these bottom up networks together. And then eventually, when there are enough bottom up networks, that's when you have a full new parallel kind of system, which um, which doesn't which isn't under the purview of the traditional financial system. Does that make sense? I mean, that's how I've been thinking about it, but
Mm-hmm.
does that make sense to you? Like how we're using blockchain in this way?
Yeah, that makes sense.
How about you, NF Thinker? Does that ring true?
yeah. I mean, specifically using blockchain tools to sort of disrupt the top-down structures. Is that
No,
the
more
question?
just like it's not even about disrupting the top-down structures. It's just about creating a parallel system that is like kind of
Mhm.
like the only way, like if you have a problem with big banks and big tech, your only real thing about it is to kind of opt out of their system. But there's no way to opt out of the system right now. It's
Well,
kind
yeah,
of
I mean, yeah, it is. And it's not as egregious as it was 3 years ago when they were, basically shutting down banks for dealing in crypto. Um, but yeah, without the tools, what can people shift to? Um,
and so we're creating those things like, oh, yeah, like so we are creating those tools that people can shift to. Hey, like you hate Spotify, here's an alternative tool that we made that you can use. Oh, you hate Shopify, here's an alternative tool that you can use. It's not as good,
Mhm.
but you're free. It's kind of the intent.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's really just about finding the balance between what you gain from those centralized structures and what you gain by building these tools. So, either way, yes, I agree with what you're saying for as far as the manifesto goes. Not manifesto, but rather the playbook.
Okay. All right. So next we have the heavens. And so the heavens are kind of like things we cannot control. And this includes like worldwide trends, global trends, and things that are just happening. Like in Art of War, it's kind of like what is the weather, what is the season, that kind of things. And so, given that AI tools are reducing human effort needed in business, which increases unemployment and decreases the barrier to starting a business, and given that global shifts and uncertainties are leading to unemployment, which is freeing people's time, we believe that more people will start small businesses. So this is something I kind of went through with Tom, but I'm interested in hearing your point of view on this too.
Excuse me. Yeah, I mean, this is something we kind of discussed last week as well. Um, we're going to start seeing even more small businesses. I mean, we saw a huge push towards small businesses with the advent of online sales, the beginning of the millennium. We started to see sort of personal commerce take off, eBay, now Shopify. Um, but people are even aware of the pitfalls of dealing with like Stripe. We saw that over the past
Mm-hmm.
4 or 5 years. Stripe will just seize your money.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir. And guilty until proven innocent. Um, and that's not necessarily a top-down manifesto from Stripe specifically. I couldn't imagine they would want to lock user funds on purpose. It's likely, top down from regulatory bodies.
Yep.
And that's really something that, we're not going to be able to avoid. So, for as much rhetoric as we use around the terms of toppling, I know we're not using the term toppling top down structures, but creating tools that aren't as overtly regulated by top down structures, we still need to be regulatorily compliant. And
Well,
some of our tools might fall prey to the same pitfalls.
well, here's the thing. One of the things I think is, first of all, we talk about this a little bit more in the Earth, but I do
Mhm.
think that idea of compliance and stuff like that, there's an opportunity to avoid some of that by doing stuff completely on chain, right? And so, um, right now, Dubai just passed a law to say that like basically you can only use stable coins and non-private chains, right? So it's kind of like they're saying that you don't have the right to privacy with your money.
Mhm.
Um,
Y-
and
Yeah,
cash is
I mean
becoming. Go
that's
ahead.
kind of how some of these privacy blockchains are treating it as well. It's not necessarily fully private transactions. It's sort of mask transactions, and it enables confidentiality, but it doesn't enable like confidentiality from the government. One sec, I just need to answer the delivery. I got a delivery here.
Yeah. So and so I think like, when you say it's a private blockchain, but people can actually see what's going on there, it's kind of like, well, you're calling it a private blockchain, but that's kind of bullshit. It's not really. And so there's someone who's actually there's a couple who are actually building private blockchains. But if you look at, some of the things that exist in private blockchains, they're basically saying, oh, we're using a ZK proof to ensure that you are compliant. Okay, maybe that's okay. Oh, we're using mass transactions so that, if we need to, we can kind of like unmask those and see the source of funds. It's kind of like, oh, okay, well that's getting less private, right? And so there's this kind of spectrum, but essentially it is all that compliance stuff which requires them to do that stuff, but they have to worry about compliance because they are building for a mass market. Whereas we who are not necessarily building for a mass market, and we who are not necessarily having like a profit structure on this, we can just release tools to the world that that other people can use, and we don't have to. We don't necessarily have to worry about it. Let's put it that way. And I think that that's a potential strength of ours, right? Is that we don't have to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And it's not like we're developing controversial tools like Tornado Cash.
Exactly.
So yeah, we're not here trying to draw heat, but at the same time, if we can offer alternatives, by all means, let's do it.
Yeah, and so like I think like we can get into the earth, but like let's does this ring true to you? We believe more people will start small businesses. I think that's kind of an important point that we didn't get a lot of. Yeah, does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
And what about you, Richard? Do you think this too?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's going to be increasingly necessary to either do something on your own or like have some capital that's participating in the system. And I guess one way of getting capital is to do something on your own.
Yeah.
But like getting paid to do a job like by one entity is probably like going to be less and less of an option going forward.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So it looks like we all buy into this. And now let's get into the Earth, because this is, I think, what we were talking about. So given that there exist many composable, the Earth is the idea like, okay, what are the natural choke points? What does the terrain look like? What are the advantages and disadvantages that you have? Where can you maximize your own strengths given what the terrain looks like? So given there exist many composable blockchain tools we can leverage, given that larger orgs like VC-backed companies and TradFi, they must concentrate on mass market products which are compliant, which reduces their mobility, and given that our small volunteer org has limited capacity and a lower bar of success, allowing us to move more quickly and build for smaller audiences, we must build niche, small-scale, low-maintenance tools that create value even without TradFi.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that definitely makes sense.
Yeah, so one of the things I was talking to Tom about was like, oh, okay, well, it would be like for some people they're not going to care unless they are like able to connect it to their TradFi, and I was like, yes, that's true, and we also need to make sure that we are creating value even without TradFi, because we don't want the connection to TradFi to be the benefit. We'll never win in that case, if that makes sense, right? We can't win in being an on-ramp, off-ramp. We win in a different way.
Yeah, I see that without scale, especially.
Exactly. Scale has been our issue, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I was speaking to a guy. We'd been in touch with one of those previous biz dev groups that I had going on when we were looking for card suppliers, or card issuers rather. And the company he is working with is Movado, Monavate, and they are card issuers for like OKX and
Mm-hmm.
MetaMask and Kraken. And I just said to him, I looked at the stack. It looks fantastic, but I just don't think we have the budget or the scale to be one of their customers at the minute. And I haven't heard back from him yet. If they've got any tools that he thinks might work for communities, I'm sure he'll let me know. But that's not their bread and butter, and they rely on scale.
Yeah.
And that the whole traditional financial market relies on scale, so we can't assume otherwise. And building tools that directly integrate to financial, like for example, our card program, it exists, and it's a tool that could potentially be helpful, but it's not what people expect it to be. And like on
Mm-hmm.
the face of it, it's not a debit card. You can't get your money out at any point in time. It's pretty restrictive, and not by design. Again, it's what we provided with minimal budget and maximal additive value for our. We even got a small amount of rewards so we could get companies to basically create it as a tax write-off if they were to issue us
Mm-hmm.
tokens. Now, with all that said, there are some financial tools, traditional financial tools that we can certainly allow access to. Maybe that's when we need to look into sort of premium features or
Mm-hmm.
these payment hooks from our app. I mean, we could be do almost everything for free app, or we could be an app that allows us to monetize from users by providing them real world services that they want to pay for. So I
Yeah.
don't think we should overlook that. If we
Agreed.
are going to provide traditional financial tools, then make it a subscription service and make it something that they're getting value from.
Yeah. I think the key is that we have to ensure that anything that we do is valuable even without TradFi. Even if we are using TradFi to make it
Mhm.
even more valuable, like TradFi connection is a value addition or a
Add.
value multiplier. It's not like
Yeah.
the core value, right?
Yeah. Agreed.
So we're running out of time. We're actually already out of time. I guess I just wanted to ask you this question. What currently exists so I was coming at it from the other perspective before. Hey, here's like the TradFi system and here's the NewFi system. Where are the gaps? Instead, I started looking at what currently exists for small businesses. If I was starting a small business today, what would I need? The constraints I talked to with Tom to focus on online businesses at first, because what works online can be made to work in real life. And you need a way to show your wares, so like a storefront. You need a way to accept money, like payment processing, and you need a way to store money, like a payment provider. So what advantages could we have over these competitors? I think the biggest one is low or no fees. Shopify charges $30 a month plus transaction fees. Etsy charges 10%, a rate plus payment processing. Gumroad charges between 10 to 30%. But I kind of want to know what other benefits could we have over these competitors. There were some other things like people who are locked out of TradFi, people who there are other ways to look at this. But the low no fees potentially gives us an opportunity to democratize online sales. Basically, I'm not going to pay $30 a month for a Shopify unless I'm making $30 a month, and I don't know if I'm going to make $30 a month. So I'm just not going to do it. So it gives us an opportunity potentially. If you're like, oh, instead of paying $30 a month, you're paying us $10 to launch a smart contract for you, and you get that you get a little website that goes with it, which allows you to accept crypto immediately. You don't need to pay for that. That just works, right? That's kind of the main benefit. Anyways, I know we're a little bit over, but any comments on this? We can pick up the conversation next week. But yeah,
I like how it's coming into shape.
yeah, okay, great. How about you, Richard?
Yep. Yeah, it's kind of making me kind of brain or like think about stuff. I mean,
Cool. That's the intent.
So some of it might be a little stretching it or whatever with the black flag and the bunny, but maybe the bunny could be hopping around carrying the black flag.
Well, to be clear, B Foundation. So the bunny is for BCard, and the black flag is for Black Flag Collective, and like the B Foundation. I know I have black flags around the B Foundation here, but like the branding and the kind of like idea behind B Foundation, I would say is not 100% set yet. So
right,
there's lots of latitude that we have. So let's talk about it on Friday when we have our ops meet.
Okay.
Okay, thanks everyone. I appreciate you all being here. Yeah, like the intent for us here is like for me, like I was personally thinking about like what is the change I want to be in the world, like what really excites me. And I keep coming back to the idea that like I am unhappy with the system the way it is and I want to change it. And what can we actually do to change it? And I think that, we have something here. We just need to figure out how to use it. So yeah, thanks you guys for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. See you next time.
Thanks.
See ya.
Bye.